Alright, today I'm going to be doing a wedge video. So I'm sure most of you have walked into a golf shop, seen bags full of wedges with every different bounce, grind, and loft combination that you could imagine, and you're staring at them saying, which one in the world do I need? So I'm just going to show you a couple things that I look for in a wedge fitting just to know how much bounce and what type of grind to look at. There are a little bit more that go, just a couple more numbers that go into this, but these are just two simple ones to look at. So the bounce would be the degree between the face and the sole that it's cut at. There is an effective bounce, which plays a role, the sole plays a role in that, to know what is the bounce with the degree of bounce, but also the width of the sole. So the wider the sole, the more effective bounce the club has. So the one I've got in my hand is mine. It's a 12-degree bounce, which is relatively high, but a very wide sole. So the effective bounce on this is closer to 20 degrees. That sounds pretty high, but I believe there's a mix-up in what people think about the bounce as far as a better player and a beginner or a higher handicapper. So most people would say it's a high bounce wedge, that's for a higher handicapper. I need like 4 degrees bounce. Well, that's not necessarily true. So if you think of it this way, the bounce keeps the club from digging into the ground. Well, your better player is steeper into impact. They take bigger divots. Now there are exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, your better golfer is going to have a little bit more shaft lean and a little steeper attack angle into the ball. So if that's the case, wouldn't the better player need more bounce because of that? And the higher handicapper is going to be shallower with less loft, or excuse me, with more loft. So they're going to add loft and they're going to lean the shaft backwards. So if that person had a lot of bounce, then they would hit the ball at the equator and the club would bounce off the ground into the ball. So that flips it the other way to say, well, maybe the higher handicapper needs less bounce to get underneath the ball, where the better golfer with a steeper divot needs more bounce to keep the club from digging. So I'll hit a shot and we'll look at these numbers and I'll show you what I'm looking at. So I've got it set on 60 yards. I like it about right there. That's the shot I like to see, just to see attack angle and then the loft at impact. So that flew right at 60 yards. All right, so the numbers that I'm looking at here are attack angle, right here. So that's measuring the club, how downward is it hitting the ball at impact. This says 9.3, so 9 degrees. The loft of the golf club is right around 49 degrees, which means I've got a 60-degree wedge and I turn it into 49 degrees at impact. So I de-loft it nearly, that 11 degrees. So I de-loft it 11 degrees, I hit down on it another 10, so if you add those two together, I need right around 20 degrees bounce. That's what I've got. So that means at impact, if I hit down on it 10 and I de-loft at 10, then this should sole perfectly at impact. So if somebody added loft and was real shallow, so if they only de-lofted at 4 degrees and they hit down on it 4 degrees, well then you're looking at an effective right around 8-degree bounce. So theirs would be less bounce with a smaller sole. So just a quick way to look at what's the loft at impact and what's the attack angle at impact to know what bounce you would need. Now if you didn't have this technology, you could look at your divots. So if I were to be outside and I hit this shot, I would see a deeper divot and a lower ball flight. So the lower ball flight would tell me I de-loft it, the deeper divot would tell me I'm steeper. So you could play around with wedges till that divot it's not continuing to get deeper. If it's the same depth the whole way, then that bounce is keeping it from digging. And you can look at the width of the sole also to get that divot a little bit better as well. So Just a quick look at wedge grinds and as well as wedge bounces.